to listen to the Lapped Traffic Podcast.
What is up, Lap Traffic Nation? Welcome to episode 210 of the Lap Traffic Podcast. I am your host, the Professor Brandon Crowd. Hope you all had a fantastic weekend. Oh, man, where to even begin? Oh, man, like, has it set in? Has it set in? Like a week and a half gone by here. Has it set in that Chase Elliott is our 2020 NASCAR champion? I think it's still incredible. Man, we'll get into that. Lots to get into tonight. Hope you all had a great weekend. Like I said, Friday night, hung out with the neighbors, which is cool. Saturday, did some errands, grilled some steaks, watched Michigan football team tank the bed even more than I thought possible. And it's time. It's time for Jim to go. And I hate to have to say that. I really thought he was going to be the guy, much like I hoped and thought Matt Patricia, coming from New England, was going to be the guy to save the Lions. And that doesn't seem to be the case either. So, yeah, time to go, guys. Sunday, hung out, threw a stuffed pork loin on the smoker, and Darwood at Uber Slacker Dar. This is for you, buddy. I tweeted a picture of the pork loin, and he wanted me to share some cooking recipes. So here you go. That was a 4-pound pork loin, butterflied it, 2 bags of Italian style breadcrumbs, soaked them in some chicken broth, smashed them up. Spread that throughout the loin, add some cranberries or apples or both, wrap it with cooking string, spread some leftover soaked breadcrumbs on the top, put a little chicken broth on the bottom, season however you like, throw it on the smoker for 225 for 2 hours. It is that simple. Or if you don't have a smoker, oven, 350, 90 minutes. I've done both. I used a pecan flavor. I wanted apple pellets, which is the only flavor I didn't have. So I went to the local hardware store to get a bag. Forgot my wallet. Didn't feel like driving back a second time. So pecan it was. It was delicious. And that is this week's cooking lesson for Darwood. And if you'd like more cooking lessons, feel free to reach out on some of my favorite smoked stuff there. We'll see if we have some fun with that over the next couple weeks. Hey, listen. 88 days away before NASCAR gets back on the track. But that isn't to say there isn't some racing that will be happening between now and then, which is a good thing. Maybe get into that with a couple of the callers here in a little bit. That's for sure. Next week's show will be the Lucky Dog and Lap Down recaps of the season. And feel free to start sending in your Lucky Dog and Lap Down picks on the season. I'll work those into the mix as well, just like I would on a normal weekly recap there. And then the week after, probably do the award show. That's assuming that I get the hardware in time. Voting closes tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern. The site and the link will be closed for the Lapped Traffic Year-End Award. So go vote. There are some very, very close categories right now. It is neck and neck between Studwell and Newdorf for Weather Personality of the Year. It's pretty close for Race of the Year. It's crazy how close it is out there. So go vote, and we'll have some fun with that in a week or two. That's for sure. Tonight, though, it's the first off-season listener call-in show. Got 5 awesome listeners. I'm going to ask them all some topics that they want to talk about, as well as some general questions that I'm going to ask each of them, just to kind of see where they go from, or, what their perspectives are on the same topic, and kind of just get a sense of what the census is out there on some stuff. So you're going to hear from Matt Camper, Joe Hewson, Gina, Mick Rose, Andrew Cancian, and we're going to have a good time tonight. So I hope you enjoy tonight's first off-season listener call-in show. I think it's time to get things rolling. Let's get to our first caller and crank up the Wave Around Hotline. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, going to kick things off just like we do the Wave Around Hotline each and every week. This guy always brings it on the Wave Around Hotline. He kicks it off. He finished 3rd in this year's Lap Traffic Fantasy League. Welcome back to the Lap Traffic Podcast. It's Matt Camper. Matt, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing great, Brandon. How you doing?
Oh, I am awesome. It's a Monday night, knocking out some of these listener call-ins for tomorrow night's show. I'm very excited. Happy to have you. I always love doing these shows, which is a lot of fun to get to talk to you guys. And I just love it. It's so much fun to get to talk to you guys. So what's going on, man? What's new and exciting? Anything?
Not much, really. Just, Really enjoyed the 2020 season, and with COVID and everything, really hope that I can get back to the track in 2021.
Oh man, ain't that the truth? I really hope that at least, fortunately, at least some tracks were able to get some fans in. I hope for sure those tracks that weren't are definitely able to at least offer some fan access next year. That's for sure. All right, let's start off this way, and I'm going to start this off with everybody the same way that's going to call in tonight. All right, Matt, what did you think the 2020 headline was going to be heading into Daytona, and how did that change for you as the season went on?
I honestly thought the 2020 headline, if I had to guess, would be, basically, I'm not 100% sure, if I have to be very honest, what the 2020 headline was going to be. There were a lot of headlines, Matt Benedetto, going off a great, season last year with that finish at Bristol. I was hoping he would have a great year. He made it into the playoffs. Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin started in the 2020 season with the Daytona 500 win. I thought he was really going to be dominant along with Kevin Harvick, which they both were. But, I was so shocked that Kevin Harvick was not able to make it to the Final Four, which, I thought the 2020 season, in fact, was incredible. The playoff, I thought this year, was unlike what I have ever seen in the history of watching NASCAR. Since the playoffs started, this year, I think, was the most dramatic playoffs I've ever seen. We did, basically, anybody who had Kevin Harvick in there, who would have imagined that Kevin Harvick wouldn't have made the Final Four this year after having 9 wins this year? No, I wouldn't have imagined that at all.
I'm with you. No, I'm with you for sure. I think that Kevin, Denny, obviously both kind of faded away a little bit there towards the end. Denny obviously being able to basically sneak his way in. He was it came down to basically 1 point, one finishing spot between him or Kevin Harvick to get to Phoenix. And, Denny had that one spot advantage, and that worked out for him. But both of those guys really faded into the playoffs. I know Kevin had the Bristol win, but that really didn't matter for him. He needed that win at Kansas. He needed, that 50-lap shootout is something that I think is going to go down in NASCAR history. It might not be something we talk about next year or the year after, but I think, a few years down the road, we're going to look back at that Kansas race, and that's going to be something that's brought up down the road, I think, as a crucial part of the 2020 playoffs. That's without a doubt.
And also, I'll mention, the headlines going into 2020, I really thought Jimmie Johnson was going to be able to, in his final season in the 48 in NASCAR before moving over to IndyCar next year, I really thought he was going to be able to make the playoffs. I thought he was going to have an impact on the season. And unfortunately, he could not get a win at all this season, which is really disappointing, especially for Jimmie Johnson fans who really thought he was going to have potentially a great year, especially going out this season and moving on to IndyCar in 2021.
Absolutely. I look at Jimmie Johnson and, 5-6 years ago, Jimmie Johnson's the Kyle Busch of now, right? Like where you could say he could show up at any track and on any given Sunday, he could potentially get a win. I obviously, over the last 3 years of him being winless, didn't have that same feeling, but there were certain tracks that you were like, all right, if it's going to happen, this is going to be one of them. Any of the road courses, potentially any of the plate races, and definitely Martinsville. Jimmie Johnson and Denny Hamlin, I think, both have 7 or 8 wins apiece at Martinsville. So I was looking to those key tracks, and like you said, it just wasn't there. It wasn't in the cards. Bummed, of course, for the Jimmie Johnson fans for not being able to get out there and, send off their driver, like I know we all want to be able to send off our driver. That's for sure.
Right. Exactly. And I really, and another one I'll mention, of course, Kyle Busch, defending series champion, not having a win at all going until Texas, the third to last race of the year, getting a win at Texas. I wouldn't have imagined Kyle Busch. I thought Kyle Busch could potentially have 4, 5 wins potentially this year and be able to make it to the championship 4 like he has in years past. And, it was a really disappointing year for Kyle Busch, I have to be very honest.
Absolutely. All right, well, let's talk about Chase Elliott here, our 2020 champ. What makes that special for you as a fan, Matt?
It is really special to me as a fan because one of the main reasons is my favorite driver, until I think it was 2016 when Dale Earnhardt Jr. was my favorite driver till 2016. And then when Dale Earnhardt Jr. retired, he didn't get that championship, and I never was able to experience as, a fan of a driver, the driver winning the championship. And, Chase Elliott, I was so pumped, especially after that win that, Chase Elliott had in the round of 8 at Martinsville when he was in a must-win situation. I really was pumped, and I thought at the time that Chase Elliott really, based on that, had a shot at winning the championship, especially coming off that win at Martinsville, which was really big for him. And, he had an incredible race at Phoenix to win the championship. He came from the back after having the failed period race inspection twice. And Chase Elliott was really on a roll the last 2 weeks of their season. And that's what you have to do in the playoffs. You have to, as I said on the Wave Around Hotline last week, you have to click at the exact time, and he clicked at the absolute right time. And as a fan, I was all excited for Chase Elliott. And if I have to be very honest, I think this momentum could go into 2021. This could be a headline for 2021. Could Chase Elliott be the first driver to win back-to-back championships since Jimmy Johnson?
That's crazy to think about that. This playoff format has been so competitive. You mentioned it a little bit ago in terms of, you've never seen anything like this in this playoffs. The final 8 that we had was the most competitive and, strongest final 8 drivers I think we've had since this format's been introduced in 2014. So the fact that we have yet to get a repeat champion under this format just says a lot to the mental and the physical and the level of competition that's out there. And I absolutely love every second about it.
Exactly. I absolutely really am looking forward to what Chase Elliott is going to do in 2021 and years to come. He's only 24 years old. He has a lot of years left in him, and I think he's going to get another championship, whether it's in 2021 or, whether it's 2022 or down the road. I think he's going to get that second championship eventually. He has matured, I think, especially the last 2 weeks of the season. He has matured tremendously.
Oh, I'm with you. I think a second championship is an inevitability. That's for sure. What was it for you that you could say where Chase took that next step? Was it the winning early in the season and maintaining and getting to the Final Four when people maybe had him counted out? Was it the win at Martinsville? Was it the championship win? What was it to where you were like Chase took that next step?
I think Chase making that next step, if I have to be very honest, he has won the last 4 road course races dating back to last year in 2019 at Watkins Glen, and he has been dominant at road courses. He's absolutely unstoppable, and that's when I thought when he won at the Roval back in the round of, I think it was the round of 12, that's when I thought he really was maturing. But when I really honestly also thought he was maturing was when he won at Martinsville and when he won the championship. He really has changed a lot.
Absolutely. I'm with you there for sure. All right, Matt, take out the crystal ball. Let's look ahead to approximately 89 days ahead. What's going to be the early headline that you think in 2021?
Well, one of the early headlines I would have to say in 2021, there are going to be rookies in the field. We got Chase Briscoe moving over from the Xfinity Series. We got Ross Chastain moving from the Xfinity Series. Two competitive drivers, Chase Briscoe with the most wins in the Xfinity Series as I can remember, and Ross Chastain, who has been up there in the Xfinity Series this season. I think it's going to make a really interesting Rookie of the Year fight in 2021.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be fun to watch. No doubt about that. All right, man. Anything fun planned in the off season? Holiday plans? Anything like that you're looking forward to?
I mean, there's not really much going on, unfortunately, with me with the holidays and everything because of, COVID. I was supposed to be going down to Florida coming up right after Christmas Day, but unfortunately, because of COVID and everything, we can't do that this year. But I'm really hoping to get down there next year to Florida at my parents' timeshare. But just basically spend time with family is what I'm going to be doing for the holiday.
Awesome. Nothing wrong with that. All right, Matt, make sure you send in your season long or feel free to call the hotline for your season overall picks for the Lucky Dog Lap Down. That's going to be coming up next week, so make sure you get that in. Everybody make sure you get those picks in. And Lap Traffic Nation, big thanks to Matt at Camper News for calling into the show. Matt, pleasure as always. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll catch up with you soon, man.
Yes, absolutely, Brandon. And if I don't talk to you, have a great Thanksgiving and Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you, man. Same to you. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, Lap Traffic Nation. There was our first caller of the night, Matt Camper. Great to catch up with him. Always a weekly contributor to Lucky Dog Segment, which I greatly appreciate. All right, let's keep things rolling. Let's not waste any time. Let's get to the next call for tonight's listener call-in show. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, I'm excited for this one. This guy has been around since the beginning. He used to help run the Fantasy League. His gift game on Twitter is always on point. Welcome back to the Lap Traffic Podcast. Mick Rose. Mick, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing excellent. Glad to be back.
Excellent. Glad to have you back, man. Family good, all that good stuff?
Everything is great.
Excellent. So happy to hear that. It's nice that so far everybody's been doing good, and that's always nice to hear. Mick, we'll start things off with this. What did you think the 2020 headline going into Daytona was going to be, and how did that shape for you over the course of the season?
To me, I thought the headline going into the season was going to be the upgrade on the Chevy body. How was it going to... Chevy hadn't been in the Final Four the whole year, so I was seeing what that upgrade was going to bring.
And they brought it.
Yeah.
They definitely brought it. They definitely brought it. Mick, I mentioned at the start of the show that that NASCAR might not be on the track for 80-some days, but there's plenty of racing to take in between now and then. You can get to your local tracks. You might still catch some sprint car stuff, which you are a big fan of. We got the Chili Bowl coming up. Let's start with the sprint. What local tracks have you gotten to? Did you get to even once COVID restrictions kind of loosened up there in the summer and all that kind of stuff? What sprint car series does Mick Rose take in?
Well, anything that's open wheel dirt, I'm a fan of. It doesn't matter if it's a midget or a sprint, wing, non-wing. I enjoy them. I got to go to 81 Speedway this year, the All-Star, because of COVID. Normally the All-Star circuit that's ran or owned by Tony Stewart normally races more in Ohio and around that area, but because of the change, they came to 81 Speedway here in Kansas. So I got to go watch Tony Stewart, Kyle Larson race in a sprint car in 81 Speedway. Kyle Larson won that night, so
Shocker.
That was good. The local track is Salina Speedway, but it's still an hour west of here, and I went to that, and then we had the USAC midgets come up to Fairbury, Nebraska for a 2-day show, so we went up there and watched that. But it was kind of limited. There was a lot of, just like anything else, it was races canceled, races changed, no spectators, all kinds of stuff. So it really limited the number of races I got to go to this year.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I'm glad you were able to take some stuff in there for sure. Mick, you're a big fan of the Chili Bowl. I'm going to be honest. Since the podcast, I've kind of started to, take notice a little bit about it. I know a lot of the listeners get into it and all that kind of stuff. But talk about the Chili Bowl. Break it down. What's the computer, Windows for Dummies? What's the Chili Bowl for Dummies version in terms of the days of the event, the different classes of the event, and all that. Break down the Chili Bowl for us, Mick.
Okay, well, there's only one class. All of the cars for the Chili Bowl are in the same class. All 300 and whatever show up, it's one class. And then Monday through Friday are your qualifying nights, and it's normally about 70 cars to 80 cars each night race to get 2 spots into the A main on Saturday. And so Monday to Friday, you're going to see a different group of 70 drivers race each night. And it uses passing points and everything else. A lot of people get confused by the passing points, but they calculate it for you. You don't have to figure nothing out. All you have to do is know the guy you're rooting for, if he's passing people, he's earning points. And if he's getting passed, he's losing points.
That's great.
And that's basically it. It's a random draw. Where you start and your heat races on your qualifying night. And just Monday through Friday, it's in the evenings. Starts about 4, goes till about midnight. It's one huge party. This year's going to be different. I'm not going for the first time in a long time. It kind of worked out in my benefit because you have to buy your tickets every year to renew them. But this year, they're only doing 25% capacity because of the pandemic and everything. So. Sure. Kind of worked out. Granddaughter number 2 will be here right in that area. So
congrats.
My wife wasn't going to be able to go anyways, and so then I was beating on going. So kind of worked out that I don't get to go this year. I don't have to look like the bad guy and took off.
I know how that goes. Hey, so let me ask you this. So all right, so Monday to Friday's qualifying for the main on Saturday. I get that. My 2 questions as we're talking about that is, one, what determines the qualifying order for the qualifying races Monday to Friday? And 2, let's say you finish 3rd, is there a last chance qualifier, late Friday night for anyone that didn't finish 1st or 2nd in any of the qualifying races?
Oh, well, Saturday, it's a random draw on Monday through Friday, and then there will be basically 11 heat races.
Okay.
And if you start on the pole and win, it's 100 points. But if you start 10th and finish 2nd, you might get 127. So, and then they take the most points out of all the heat races, and the top 40 race in 4 qualifiers. Everybody else goes to the D and C mains on that night, and then eventually you break it down to 24 cars each night, and the 1st and 2nd make it to the A main on Saturday. And then on Saturday, they start racing at 9 in the morning. And it all goes from all your qualifying nights, and it starts in the O main. And there's 2 of each letter. So it goes 2 O's, 2 N's, 2 M's, all the way down until you get to the last 2 B
races. Do
the
alphabet backwards, Mick. Keep going.
Yep. And then it goes all the way to the 2B main, and then you eventually get your 24 cars for the A main on Saturday.
That's great. So it's almost it's kind of like an NBA, or not an NBA, a college basketball conference tournament all mixed into, 6 days basically in terms of eliminations and getting to the big dance there.
Yes, and you can't have any bad luck on your qualifying night. You cut a tire, you could end up starting, in the F main. I think J.J. Gailey holds the records for. I think he came from the F to finishing 3rd in the A main. That's the farthest back I think anybody's come.
That's crazy.
that's a lot of racing on a Saturday there, but
Oh,
but
man.
it makes it for but it is a crazy week. The atmosphere in the stands is crazy. It's like a giant party. You have the rowdies, and, all of the. There's just so much stuff going on. But it is a great atmosphere. It's fun the entire week. All those race fans all in one area.
So when you would normally go, you go for the whole week?
I go from Tuesday to Saturday. It used to only be when I started going. It was only Tuesday to Saturday. But the car count kept going up, so they had to add another day. And Tuesday to Saturday is enough.
Sure, yeah. Do you camp, RV, hotel? What's the method of
we stay at a
accommodations?
we stay at a hotel. There's a lot of hotels that give you the Chili Bowl discount. They use it as like if you look, the dates might be filled. If you go on the internet, call them and tell them you're going there for the Chili Bowl. They have rooms that are on the Chili Bowl rate, which is pretty normal. So
That's awesome. Very cool.
yeah.
Very cool. Well, I'm glad you've been able to take that in. That definitely sounds like one hell of an experience. That's for sure. Any who should people be looking for this year? Any sleepers, favorites, anything like that yet for the Chili Bowl?
Well, Larson will be Larson and Bell will be favorites, but anybody in the Keith Kuntz stable is pretty good. That's a Toyota back team, So you have Buddy Kofoid or I really haven't. The entry list hasn't even came out yet, so I don't know who will be racing who. But Stenhouse is always there. C.J. Leary, who drives for Alex Bowman, is there. Alex Bowman, I don't think, is racing this year, but he's bringing 2 cars. Justin Allgaier is always there. Chase Briscoe's racing there normally on most years. So
That's
there's
awesome.
a lot of familiar faces. Casey King's normally there, so there's a lot of familiar faces. And Darren Pittman's always strong. He's a World of Outlaws guy. So
Fantastic.
David Gravel.
Well, Mick, thank you for laying down some Chili Bowl knowledge for us. I love it. Thank you. All right, let's turn left and get back on the NASCAR track here. What'd you think of the 2020 season there, sir?
I enjoyed it. It was kind of different, with the racing on a Wednesday or the racing, or back-to-back days. It was kind of different, So there was one point where it seemed like they were racing every other day, and then we went to a whole week with no racing. And
Right.
I was like, man, are we ever going to go racing again? So it had its jam down your throat, and then it kind of backed off and got back to kind of normal. But it was just weird with no fans in the stands. It always just
felt weird. Just didn't look right on TV.
Yep. It just was something, looked out of place, I guess.
Yep. And it's like, it's funny, like even watching the NFL, right? Like no fans in the stadiums, they're pumping in crowd noise, for the TV perspective, and you're hearing crowd noise, but you're seeing empty seats. And it's just, it is weird. It's hard to, just because we're so used to seeing people and we don't see people.
Yeah, or you'll see more people at a high school football game now than you will at an NFL game.
Right?
Kind of crazy.
Yeah.
The whole 2020 is just weird. But
Yep. 100%. All right, man. Let's talk about Young Money. Kyle Larson back next year. I know you got to be very excited about that.
I am. Maybe he'll be in the HMS stable, so I'm really excited about that. That sounds good. I don't know about Cliff Daniels. I'm kind of excited about the 24 hours of Daytona because, Jimmy Johnson said I've read a few times where he says he hasn't lost a step, and so he'll be in the same car as Chase Elliott when they're doing the 24 hours of Daytona. So we'll have a good comparison to see, did he lose a step, or not, so.
Sure.
Maybe it was Cliff Daniels, the crew chief. I don't know, but we'll find out. I'm looking forward to it.
Does Kyle Larson win a race in NASCAR next year? Mick Rose, what do you say?
Oh, man, I do not know. It's possible. I mean, this car's finished 18th in the points the last 2 years, so that's not a good thing, and and it's had 5 top 5, with Cliff Daniels as a crew chief. So
That's
I
a
do
fair
not know.
assessment. That it's crazy to think that, like, right, like, I know Matt Kenseth was out for a minute, but Matt Kenseth wasn't out for very, he takes over for Kyle Larson, and that car just dropped, and then you said, you look at what Jimmy Johnson's done. Technically, in that car, that's the car that he's kind of taken over for there, right? And it's going to be. Crazy to see. Can that get reversed? Like you said, hardly any top 10s. Jimmy Johnson's wins to top 5s to top 10s the last 3 years basically got slashed in half. So it'll be interesting to see. That's for sure.
Yep, and you just don't know. Was it Jimmy Johnson? Did he just fall off, or is it? With this package, is it so much car has to be perfect? I just don't know.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to find out. I just did not, Jimmy Johnson getting, with his 51 races with Cliff Daniels to get 5 top 5s and 14 top 10s just doesn't seem like a stout team.
Right. I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah.
All right, Mick, let's wrap it with this. Take out the crystal ball. What will the early 2021 headlines be?
Oh, it has to be Chase Elliott, defending his title, I would think. That would probably be the most popular driver defending his title. I think that will be the headline. And it's a good headline. It's good for NASCAR when you have a popular driver as the champion.
Absolutely. So. You nailed it right there, man. It's good for NASCAR. And if it's good for NASCAR, it's good for the sport. It's good for the fans. It's good all around for sure. I love it. All right, Lap Traffic Nation. Big thanks to Mick at GoDucks42 _ Mick. Thanks for calling into the show. Thanks for the support over the years, brother. Stay safe, stay healthy. Happy holidays to you, the family. Congrats on the addition and all that good stuff. And better luck in Lap Traffic Fantasy next year.
Oh, I need some better luck.
You and me both, man. All right, man. Good to talk to you. Good to catch up. And we'll talk to you soon, man.
All right. Enjoy.
Thanks, man. Oh, Lap Traffic Nation. How awesome is Mick Rose? Love him. Been around a long time. Great to catch up with him. It's been a minute for sure. All right. Let's keep things rolling. Let's get this year's 2020 Lap Traffic Fantasy winner back on the line. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, let's keep things rolling. Back on the line, he is your 2020 Lap Traffic Fantasy winner, here to have some fun tonight on the first listener call-in show during the offseason. Welcome back to the Lap Traffic Podcast, Joe Houston. Joe, what's up, brother? How are you, man?
I'm doing great, Brandon. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to talk to you again.
Absolutely. Love having you on. It's fun. One of the nice things is you can keep the engagement. You pick up on the voice inflections and all that kind of stuff. Sherwin and I talk about that all the time. Like, it just sounds kind of natural for you, which is very good. So I love it. You're easy to have on. That's for sure. Let's start off with this. I'm doing it for everybody that's calling in tonight. What did you it's been a crazy 2020, right? So what did you think the headline of 2020 was going into Daytona, and how did that change for you as the season went on?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I guess if I had to pick a storyline just without thinking about it too much, it would be, I guess it would have been Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick. And I mean, really, those were kind of the big two. I guess Hamlin kind of had some success last year as well, but can those guys just maintain their level of dominance, or, was somebody else going to step up, or one of those guys maybe fall down like we kind of saw with Kyle Busch for a lot of the year? Yeah. So I think just kind of what was going to happen with the big names of the sport would be that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there for sure. All right, man. Has it sunk in that you have won the prestigious 2020 Lap Traffic Fantasy? How's the interview tour going? All that kind of stuff. I'm sure you've been just busy as all could be.
Yeah, I wouldn't exactly say that. Maybe a couple appearances on your show is about as far as that's gone.
We got to change that.
Yeah. No, I'd love to go on some other shows too, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't say it's fully sunk in. I think once that trophy gets here and I can I can go. I'm gonna bring that thing over to the NASCAR Hall of Fame, get some pictures. We'll share them on Twitter and all that. So I think at that point I'll be able to fully accept that it happened.
All right, I'm going to tell you this right now. If you have some fun with this in terms of like, I know like back in the day, like when they were in Vegas, they take pictures in front of the Welcome to Las Vegas sign, all that kind of stuff. You send me something creative, I will put it on the homepage of the website and maybe even throw in a little extra something just because, like, let's have some fun with this.
Hell yeah, man. I'm excited to do it. I just walked by there the other day, and it's just kind of still I don't know, I'm not even sure if they're open again, but just walking by, you get a really nice view. They have the little curve, with Richard Petty's old car and Dale Earnhardt. I think I had a couple of Jimmy Johnson ones. It's
yes.
It'll be fun. Yeah,
yes,
we'll do something
absolutely.
cool.
I think that would be awesome. I will be I've got everyone's names and all that kind of stuff from the fantasy side, and the year-end awards closes tomorrow. So later this week I'll be ordering the trophies and all that kind of stuff. So that's always fun. It's something cool. It's different. It's unique, and it's been a unique thing for the podcast to do the year-end award show. Just something unique that I don't think there's many podcasts out there that do something like that, and it's a fun little niche thing to do at the end of the year.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. I think that's one of the really cool things about your podcast is how you involve, the listeners and also your guests, and kind of just with the award show and all that, and the listener call-in show, and it's I think it's one of the main things that makes it great.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. You got to just have fun with it. Like the show's evolved over the years. The wrapping up year 4 here. Next year is going to be year 5, and everybody knows I love doing things around numbers, and I love the narrative, right? So year 5, that's a big year mark in and of itself. So going to try to do some different things and all that kind of stuff next year. Might look to add something like a 5th year anniversary to logo thing. Might do some limited T-shirts or maybe some hats, something. Why not have fun, celebrate, and give people a reason to forget about life for an hour or 2 a week.
Yeah, no, I think it's awesome, and that's kind of this is a good segue into kind of one of the things I wanted to talk about with you, and that's just sort of some of the history of the podcast. I maybe listened for a year and a half or something like that, but I wasn't around for those early years, so I kind of wanted to ask you, like, I guess just a brief, like, how'd you get into NASCAR, and then how did you kind of come up with the idea to do a podcast, and then like what prompted you to to say, hell yeah, let's go ahead and do this and buy the equipment and start recording?
Yeah, no, for sure. So that was like a getting into NASCAR, like it was kind of hit or miss, growing up. Like my grandpa worked for GM. All of my uncles were big, into NASCAR. They'd watch it growing up and when they were younger, before families and all that kind of stuff. I really started getting into it like my senior year of high school, which was 2000 into 2001. And it was because my uncle back then, I mean, I'm talking, that's 97, right? 96, 97, somewhere around that time. Or no, I'm sorry. That's when I started high school. Graduated high school 2001. Was doing a fantasy league back in the day. Pre-internet,
really?
Pre all that kind of stuff. It was initially it was random, just draw whatever starting spot he pulled for your name. That's who your driver was for that week. You got their points, and it was literally like random luck of the draw kind of stuff. And he was like, "Do you want to get into it?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah." I'm like, 17, 18 years old. Like, yeah, any way to make a couple bucks and have some fun. And so that's how I really, I knew about it. Like I said, my grandpa worked for GM, and, it was always that, if a NASCAR Chevrolet driver won on Sunday, they had casual Monday kind of thing, and just something that I just remember growing up and remembering and all that kind of stuff. And, always big into football and that kind of stuff. And then once my uncle did that, it was like, all right, well, I had a reason to watch on Sundays, and, I'd tune in for a little bit of the race, and then I'd fade out for a little bit and come back, and that fandom just kind of evolved over the years.
Have you been doing that league the whole this whole time since then?
Yes. So and the league evolved. It switched over to a Yahoo. It switched over to ESPN. It was either this year or last year was the first year in over 25 years that he actually ended up not doing it just because he lost so many people. He's actually in our league. That's Matt Crowd. It was Matt's Car was the name of the league, and he did that forever, and that's really kind of what sparked my interest. And then getting your driver's license and being able to go to the track yourself and all that kind of stuff, and going to MIS as a late teen, early adult kind of thing, and then getting to know some people with hot passes, and then that kind of elevated to the next level there, and then it became, I got a real understanding wife. We don't have kids. All right, hobbies cost money, right? Whether it's golf, whatever it is, hobbies cost money, and it was I'm going to take some money and put it towards this and see what happens. And, wrapping up the fourth year here, there we go. And, it's evolved, and it's taken a life of its own. It's my baby, as everybody knows. I have such a great time with it. I love interacting with everybody. I love challenging myself to see, who the next big guest is that I can get. The next, milestone on followers, the next milestone on downloads. And it's, if it's not for you guys, like the mere fact I've got 6 people that reached out in a matter of about 5 minutes of me posting, hey, I'm going to do a listener call-in show. If it's not for that, I'm talking to myself with nobody listening, and the fact that people listen, the fact that people want to see the show get to different download numbers and different followers, it literally means the world to me. It touches my heart in ways that I don't think people will ever understand. And I get it's a small little piece of a big pie that is NASCAR. But it's one of the coolest things. I don't get paid to do it, but it's the coolest damn hobby in the world to have, man.
Absolutely, man. That's it. I think it's super awesome, and it's really interesting. I didn't realize that kind of the fantasy aspect of drawing you into NASCAR more, and then eventually kind of leading to this. Because I can say just from playing the league this year for the first time, especially having the trucks and Xfinity kind of involved, it's really it's pulled me into the sport just that much more. I've loved it the last several years and watched at least pretty much every Cup race, but now I'm watching all 3 series.
Absolutely. Right. See, and that's the cool thing about it. Like, I mean, the fantasy league is, in my opinion, it's unique in 2 perspectives. One, it's unique in that so many people stay attuned to and pay attention, and when there's no money on the line, it's hard to keep interest. And I totally get
agree.
That. But the amount of people that do stay invested throughout the year, I absolutely love that, because I know the fact, like, all right, there's no money involved. It's all bragging rights and for a little trophy and some T-shirts and stuff at the end of the year. Like, so to keep that 36-week investment, I get is a big commitment. And the fact that people make that commitment to the league, I absolutely love. And the second thing is I think it is unique, and like, it's not a replication of what you get on DraftKings or FanDuel. It's not a replication of what you may do with just a couple buddies. Like, it is a unique league that itself has taken a life of its own. Every year it manifests a little bit different here or there, and I think it's almost at a perfection level.
I agree totally.
We'll make some tweaks. I put the survey out there. Half the league filled it out, which is great. But it's your league that you guys play in. Like, it ain't for me; it's for you guys. So I'll curtail it to whatever the general consensus is in terms of what you guys want, and I'll read through those, and I'll do the fantasy league show, early January to give people plenty of time to get signed up and all that kind of stuff. And I'll go through, what the changes are and all that kind of stuff based on the survey results and all that good stuff. So it's fun, man. The nice thing is it adds, another 10 minutes to the show that's unique. That gets people involved in calling in and partake. I'll tell you what, I know I mentioned this, the fact that we were able to get all 4 of the Final Four guys lined up to call in for their picks, that meant the world to me. I thought it was a great piece to the show. And the fact that every week, I was able to get at least the first week higher. I never couldn't get somebody to call in, which is just awesome, and just kind of goes back to how awesome the fan base is, both of the show and the fantasy league. I like I said, I'm without words a lot of times just on how much and how strong the fan base is of the show.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think the league's pretty much. I don't know if I would change anything about it, and I think part of it. The success of the league is just that I think the people that are playing are invested in the sport to some level already, and it's just kind of amps that up. But I think also it goes back to you, like you're the head honcho, and you're really, I think you're a kind, likable person, and that I think that goes towards you, finding so many guests and just in general, the success of things.
I appreciate that.
But going back to the history of the podcast, when you first started, what were you thinking it was going to, how long did you think you were going to have to go to start getting listeners? And how long did you have to go? Was there times when you were getting, worried about it or discouraged? And were there certain guests that when they came on kind of had a following that
I tell you,
caused you to grow? To
this day, it is amazing in terms of, and I tell you what, if not for the PETM podcast, I don't know where the show would be, to be honest, because they kind of helped draw attention, because they were already out for about a year or so and had a following and all that. And they helped, spread the word, which was incredible. And I'm in debt to them forever on that. And those two, Rusty and Sherwin, are some of the, best friends to date, and some people that, just never would have thought I'd ever meet. And it's incredible, like Kathleen, and Andrew, the people that I've met at the track, and that have become friends, that keep in touch, not just on social media, but it's incredible. And the funny thing is podcast is still new from an amateur perspective. It's hard to measure. You can say, oh, I've got X downloads, but compared, there's not really a big measuring stick out there. Like Joe Rogan can compare himself against, Howard Stern,
right.
There's that measuring stick out there from an investment perspective and the amount of money that one could bring in. From an amateur podcast perspective, I think it's still fresh in terms of, well, what's the untapped potential? How many people are you really reaching? There's the measuring sticks out there aren't that much, so it's like the mere fact that, the truck series and the drivers there and the Xfinity series, those two, Jimmy Johnson, Kevin Harvick, Kyle, but they don't need to call into the Lap Traffic podcast. I totally get that, right? They don't need to push their brand. They don't need to do that 10-minute interview on here.
Right.
They don't want to do the 10-minute interview, after post-race, let alone, call in on a Tuesday or a Monday night to someone's show that's an amateur level, right? But, you look at the truck series and the Xfinity series, and those guys want to get their names out there in whatever way, shape, or form that they can. For them to recognize and, the fact that after now 4 years, I've established the reputation that I have, that they know, it's a trustworthy show.
Right.
That means the world to me. And I never thought that it would ever get to that level ever. I didn't know there'd ever be guests or anything like that, and for it, like I said, it's just taken a life of its own over 4 years, which is just, it's incredible. Cause I kind of, everyone jokes about the fact that, PETM, they got a half page of show sheets and they just roll. And I've got, 15 pages typed out. Sometimes it's got stats, sometimes it's got talking points, it's got 7 interview questions to ask, it's got the standings for the fantasy. It's not much, but it's the fact that it's just the quantity of pages. And I love and I embrace being made fun of, constantly. I'm all about that, so it's just funny. Like I said, I just let it kind of take its own form, and we're in the off season, and just kind of have some fun with some stuff, and going to do the recap of the Lucky Dog lap downs next week, the end of the year awards, like you mentioned. And now is where you can just have some fun, hopefully gain some new followers, keep some traction into the off season, and then pick back up in 2021. Excuse me.
Yeah, it seems like you definitely got a good rhythm and good just kind of sequence. I think the show works really well the way that you put it together, and with PETM, I think it's great that they do it the way they do it. Everybody can kind of do it their own way. There's no one official way to do a podcast.
And that's something those guys and we've talked about at length over the years. Is it's like the only two constants are that one, we're both podcasts, and two, that we focus around NASCAR. But you can listen to both shows and get and it's same topic, podcast, and you're getting two completely different shows about the same topic. And so that's where we have a lot of crossover, which is great because we present things in two completely different ways of approaching the show, which is incredible. So
yeah, I think it's awesome. Do you have any goals like now that you've kind of hit this level of success, to obviously just with these giveaways and stuff hitting the whatever X number of followers, but like, where do you see it going?
So who knows, right? Like honestly, obviously the next goal, like the first goal on Twitter was 5,000, right? You want like 5,000 is a big, strong number. And so now it's like 10,000, and that's so far away. That's 9,900 or that's 4,900 followers away.
Right.
And it's like, man, what I wouldn't do to just in the off season, like just blow up some way, shape or form. But I don't think it blows up like that anymore like it used to. I think so many people follow so many people that I think it's harder to do that. And
for sure.
I try not to take that personal, and it's like no one, for the most part, no one's really ever said no. I may not get a response, but I think now the show is got it's sustained, it's got a reputation, and it's just kind of roll with the punches at this point, and just kind of take things in stride as they come. Next year, like I said, I'm going to try to make a celebration. It's year 5. I'm going to celebrate.
Definitely.
I'm not going to be able to do an episode 200 every week, but as much as I can make next year bigger than this year, really is what it'll just end up boiling down to. So
yeah, that makes sense. 10,000 seems far away, but I think, but at the same time, I feel like it's going to be a much smoother path from 5,000 to 10,000 than it was from 0 to 5,000.
Absolutely.
And it won't take as long either.
Yes, I hope not. Well, Matt, listen, I feel like I've talked, and this is a listener college show. So, man, let's get you back.
Okay, fair enough.
Thank you for asking all that. I really appreciate you taking the interest to ask that. I really do appreciate that. Let's see here. How about this? So, like I said, I know I got the survey out there, and I'll recap all that kind of stuff. NASCAR, though, from a perspective of changes that NASCAR made. What did you like about NASCAR's 2020 changes? What are you looking forward to NASCAR's 2021 changes, schedule, rules, all that kind of stuff? Where are you at with that?
Yeah, I think I guess the number one change probably has to be the choose rule. That's just made it so your ability to come back and towards the end of a race, if you get a caution or two, has just completely changed. I think I remember like Zane Smith maybe at Michigan where he was in like 18th place and then, picks, I guess it's the inside's the disadvantaged lane there. So he gained a bunch of spots doing that. And then, one more caution and all of a sudden he's in first and wins the race. And I don't think that happens with the previous the previous model. So that's a huge, I gotta give NASCAR a hand for that specific change. I think going to some more road courses is also, to me, a positive. I think, and seeing more schedule changes in the future is also exciting in terms of moving forward. We'll see with the new car how that changes things. I don't have a big problem with the rules packages. I mean, could they be better? Maybe, it's hard to really say, but like in that case, towards the end of the season with Logano and Harvick, I think to myself, yeah, he is much faster, and yeah, probably he should be able to make that pass a little easier. But at the same time, if you have sort of the more old school, lower downforce type setup, he zooms by and wins that race by 10 seconds, and there's not a great battle going on for the last. Yeah, there's no battle for the last 30 laps. Bumper to bumper, just just showing that bumper cam on TV, just running up and then kind of can't quite get by. It was exciting. So I see it both ways. I really do. But I think in general, I'm okay with the direction things are going.
Sure.
But we'll see that new car.
You're not going to please everybody, obviously, right? Everyone's going to find some reason to complain.
Right.
And that's kind of, you got to ask yourself, all right, what really means the most to me? And like you said, your typical mile and a half, there's not even a battle to be had. And then we're all complaining about that it was a boring race and that the leader won by 10 seconds. Now we're complaining.
Exactly.
That, well, we had the battle, but he couldn't pass, and then it just depends on who's that battle between in terms of whether or not we're glad that person didn't pass or we wish they could have passed, and it's like, and you know what? And that's a great thing, because that just means people are watching. There's passion behind it. And so that's where it's like, and if you're NASCAR, right, how much of this is fandom, fanatic reaction, and how much of it is yep, there's a legit gripe here. And I think one of the things that fans had a legit gripe with is the fact that our schedule's been so bland for the last however many years. So yes, and they came out swinging hard, and they're giving the fans what they want: some more short tracks and some more road courses, and that's great. And you know what? If in 5 years after the next gen car's been out for a year or two, and it makes more sense to switch things back up to a mile and a half, great, go back to the mile and a halves. And that's the nice thing that I love, that NASCAR now has the control to have control of the schedule of their season. And, I think that in and of itself will make for better competition once the kinks get worked out with the new car. And like I said, between the new car, the schedule changes that now NASCAR is apparently not afraid to make, the changing of the guard with guys like Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, we've got Cole Custer, Christopher Bell, we've got Austin Cindric, all the changing of the guard. Go find your new driver. That personality is out there to be had. The Jeff Gordon personality of the 90s and 2000s is out there. The Kevin Harvick personality, the Tony Stewart, the Jimmy, those personalities are still there. Go find them and root for them, and just embrace, the next 5 to 7 years in NASCAR, because it's going to be okay. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I agree about the new faces and everything. I think that's it's sad to see a lot of these guys go, but it's exciting to see a lot of new faces, and I think in the years to come they'll have more and more opportunities to actually go out and win some races and kind of show their personality a little bit more, I guess.
Absolutely. I'm with you. All right. Let's wrap it with this. Take out the crystal ball. What's the 2020 early headline going to be?
For next year, I mean, it's a good question. I guess it can Chase Elliott continue, turn this into an actual kind of more successful season. I mean, it's hard. Obviously, he won the championship. It was a successful season this year, but he really, he won, I guess, 1 or 2 races earlier in the year, right? But it just, the huge run at the end was kind of a little bit out of nowhere.
Sure.
It's hard to. I don't necessarily think he was, dominating the whole season. So is he going to step up to the level of a Harvick or a Hamlin next year? Or is it going to be those same guys? I'm kind of using the same point that I made for last season, but
sure. No, I'm with you. But that's fair because then it's like, all right, you got this for one more year. You know, did the 9 team hit on something to take them into next year? Great, cool. But are they going to have a regression year in 2022? What other teams may have regression? You know, like that new car and everybody being back on an even playing field is going to be interesting to see who can make the adjustments mid-year and all that kind of stuff once that thing comes out.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, honestly, maybe that's the story is just the final days of this particular car and what's just looking ahead. What's going to be? I feel like it could be very different in 2022. Maybe not, but yeah, that's a great point.
Sure. Yeah, I love it. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, big thanks to Joe Houston at Joey_CLT for calling in tonight. Joe, pleasure as always. Stay safe, stay healthy, happy holidays, and look forward to talking to you soon, man.
Awesome. Yep, you too. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. All right, great to catch up with Joe. Right now, though, it is time for a little Lap Traffic social media. We got some stuff to give away, all that good stuff. Everybody, make sure you check out the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com. Like on Facebook, The Lap Traffic Podcast. YouTube, The Lap Traffic Podcast. And, of course, Instagram and Twitter at Lap Traffic PC. Subscribe, download, leave a review, all that good stuff. All right. It's time. I think we're going to even add a little drum roll in here, and it's time to give away an awesome prize pack. I had to up the ante, apparently, because I kept, no matter what I was doing, I was at like 50-50 with the followers. Like sometimes it go to 50-45, I'd get up to 50-65, but then the bots and all that and that fades out and all that good stuff. And I just couldn't get over the hump of 5,100 followers. So I upped the ante. I added from my personal collection back in the day, pre-podcast, all that good stuff. I added a 8x10 autograph here of our 2020 NASCAR champion, Chase Elliott. Like, that's got to work. So without further ado, the winner. Oh, well, hold on. First off, teaser, right? First off, thank you. Thank you to everybody that retweeted, that tagged the friends, that followed, all that good stuff. I'm stoked at 5,100 followers. It stayed 5,100 followers since I think Sunday. You guys are incredible. I love you guys. Thank you so much for that. Probably going to take a break on giveaways here during the off season. And all that. So we'll see what happens. Who knows? We might fall back below, but as long as we stay above the 5 mark, we're good. And we'll crank things back up. I placed an order for some T-shirts and stuff like that for the fantasy winners and ordered some extras. So there'll be some stuff, that's for sure. And, next year is season 5. And, there's going to be some stuff that's going to happen. So I'm getting excited for next year, so I hope you guys are as well. All right, so now I can throw in the drum roll, and we can announce the winner of the 5,100 follower prize pack, which includes some custom koozies that do not go out for the regular koozie requests. These are some colored koozies with some different logos on them. I've got the Lapped Traffic mug and the signed 8x10 of Chase Elliott. And the winner of that prize pack is Mark Pryor at NASCAR Rocks MP. Congratulations, man. You won the Chase Elliott autograph, the Lap Traffic mug, some limited edition koozies and all that good stuff. Thank you to everybody that retweeted, followed, tagged, all that good stuff. There will definitely be more prize packs down the road, that's for sure. Don't forget, if you want stickers, koozies, all that good stuff, hit up the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com. Fill out the contact page, and I will get some out to you for sure. And just a reminder, don't forget, tomorrow, the ballot, the survey link closes for the end of the year award show. Go vote for driver of the year, guest of the year, track of the year, all that good stuff. And, there's no lucky dog wave around hotline this week because we're going to do that next week. But I got a notification that a voicemail came in, and I got to play this for you guys because you guys are going to get a kick out of this.
Hey there, Lap Traffic Podcast. This is totally not CJ Bolivar at all. But I just wanted to talk about that voting. You hear how excited my dog is in the background. We're all just hoping that CJ can get the Guest of the Year award, I think it's called. I think voting's still open right now. I tell you, that interview, man, he was talking about how Kyle Busch is pretty much kind of like the new Dale Earnhardt with his attitude, and we know that he gets pretty excited with a lot of these NASCAR races when he's working on the Fox Sports social media side of things, and he's pretty fun. So I really think that all of your listeners should click on the vote link and vote for CJ. And again, I'm totally not CJ, but I know CJ would really appreciate that vote and would appreciate the award at the end of the year to be the Guest of the Year. So again, I'm totally not CJ. Vote for CJ.
All right, Lap Traffic Nation. That is the first ever call in to campaign for their own vote on Lap Traffic Waiver Out Hotline for the year-end awards. I think CJ's doing pretty good last I checked, but man, I absolutely love that. So go vote for CJ or whomever you absolutely loved hearing on the Lap Traffic podcast. All right, that is going to do it for this week's social media segment. Got a couple more calls for you guys. Let's get to the next call on the Waiver Round Hotline. All right, Lap Traffic Nation. Next up is the lone female caller tonight. She's a huge Jimmy Johnson fan. She's from the great state of Michigan. Unfortunately, though, she is a Buckeye. We can't all be perfect. Making her debut on the Lap Traffic podcast, it's Gina at Gina Loves JJ48. What's up, Gina? How are you?
I'm great, Brandon. Thanks for asking. How are you?
I am so awesome. Welcome to the show. I am excited to talk to you, and I'm excited because we're going to talk a little Jimmy Johnson, which is needed. It's necessary. The fans didn't get to send him off like they should, so we'll have some fun talking about Jimmy Johnson here in just a little bit. But first, we got to take care of some business first, and the first is, hey, at least your Buckeyes can win football games.
Yes. Oh, yes. And I am so sorry about what happened to your guys on Saturday, because I've looked at some things in the news and seen some video, and it was just awful. I am so sorry about that.
Hey, listen,
really,
I made money on the game. I bet Wisconsin to cover. I'm no fool. I'm no fool. Oh, I am no fool. Let's see here. So let's start off with this, and I'm doing it the same with everybody. What did you think the 2020 headline was going to be going into Daytona, and how did that change for you throughout the year?
I really thought it was just going to be more like really all about Jimmy Johnson at every race. And it was kind of, but it was all behind COVID.
Sure.
It really was. It was all behind, I mean, even like the whole Chase Elliott winning his first championship and how exciting that is at his age and everything. It's great. But COVID was the headline, and I can't get away from that.
No, that's a good point. I think going into the year, it was all right. Who at the start? All right, who's going to win the 500 and who's going to come out on top after the West Coast swing? And we did all that, and I think all that kind of played out to par for the most part. Denny Hamlin winning the 500, no surprise. The fact that he picked up another one so quickly from his last one. We had the West Coast swing, and then boom, COVID. So yeah, I think COVID kind of did change the headline of 2020. Obviously, from a racing perspective, if we're going to be, obviously the world but if we're going to look from the sport itself, that changed the headline for sure. In that it. Who would have thought we'd be sitting in April, chomping at the bit to watch an iRace on national TV? Like, never in my wildest dreams. Nothing to take away from iRacing and the sport of that, but never did I think that that's what we would be clamoring for just to satisfy the itch, so to speak.
It really was bizarre, because I was all in with iRacing in place of real racing. And And it's not that far from real racing anyway, but yeah, it was very exciting. I was telling all my friends about it. They all looked at me like I was nuts. It's not, it's a video game, and you're watching other people play a video game, and you're excited about this. Yeah, exactly. It was what we had at the time, and it was exciting.
It was, and it was unique. It was different. Like, Lindsay will watch the 500. She'll watch Homestead. She might tune into a Bristol night race if we got some friends over. But Lindsay actually sat and watched a few of those with me just because it was different. And I said it, Larry Mack was on back when that first happened. And, the kudos that Fox has to get from taking the initiative, one, to do it, to put it together so quickly, to have fun with it with the likes of Clint Boyer and Jeff Gordon. That was pure TV gold.
It was perfect.
Yes.
It was exactly what we needed to just kind of get us over or get us through.
Monday. Yes, just get us to the next day. It was absolutely fantastic that was able to work. And it's now that we got the real thing. No, I'm not. I'm not tuning into an iRace.
I dumped it like a hot potato too.
Right,
so.
I will not take anything away from the enjoyment, and at least it gave us something to watch, gave me something to talk about and have fun with.
Sure.
It was like you said. It was exactly what we needed to help get us through. That's for sure. All right, let's change gears a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about Jimmie Johnson. I felt so bad for Jimmy. I felt bad for his fan base. I felt bad for NASCAR. Really not able to send him off in the fashion he deserved. Let's start with this. What caused you? What made you a Jimmie Johnson fan? When did you start rooting for him and all that good stuff?
It's so amazingly random. I wasn't even a NASCAR fan yet. I got up on a Sunday morning, and it was race day. It was the Daytona 500. I was joining a fantasy league to try to spend more time with my husband at the time, and he was off at Lowe's. So when he came home, he brought home a hero card for Jimmie Johnson. Which I didn't know who he was. Sure. I knew a couple drivers from when my son was kind of into it as a kid, Tony Stewart and Jeff Gordon, of course. But I went, oh, this guy's kind of cute. I'll root for him today. Well, he won that day with Darian Grubb because Canales was grounded. He was off the ground, so to speak. But yeah, I went with just he's kind of cute. I'll root for him, and he won, and he kept winning, and then he won his first championship. That was 2006, and I was all in by maybe the second or third win. We already had SiriusXM. I was already listening to Speedway and all that sort of thing.
Sure.
I didn't listen to the races on the radio yet until probably for another 5 years. And then I was all hooked on listening and syncing it with the TV and, all that good stuff. But in the meantime, it was just all Jimmie Johnson all the time. It was my background at work. I had calendars. I had pictures. I cut everything out I could find out of every magazine that was still being published at the time. But it wasn't just all in because of him. And it went beyond him being cute now because
Sure.
was amazing. He's an amazing driver.
Yes.
And I liked this quote vanilla personality. You don't have to be outrageous to get fans.
Sure. No, absolutely. He proves that for sure. I think one of the interesting things with Jimmie Johnson is his, he kind of came, obviously came up behind Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon, I don't think Jeff Gordon necessarily knew the popularity he was going to get so quickly. And I think Jimmy kind of the same way. And the two of them, friends, same organization, and just kind of, they didn't carry themselves necessarily differently, but their fans were just a much different fan base, I feel like. And to go with, Jimmy winning that first championship 2006, his last one 2016, it's just been incredible. I love the fact that like you said, you were cutting out magazine clippings and stuff like that. Like, I am so about whatever makes you a fan, whatever makes you want to tune in on Sunday or, Saturday, Friday night, whatever it may be. I love and can get behind that. I did not like Jimmie Johnson for the longest time, and that's because my driver wasn't winning sometimes because of Jimmie Johnson, and that just made me want to tune in more to see, all right, well, who's going to win, Jimmie Johnson or Kevin Harvick, and they had their battles, and that's what I love about the sport. That's what I love about fans being able to go to the racetrack because, everybody's got their driver's garb on, and it's fantastic, and everyone can have fun and make fun of each other. Like, it is just like the perfect, hazing without being hazing kind of thing, and it's just a NASCAR event experience, a Sunday afternoon, whether you're at the track or watching on TV, is just such a unique experience.
It really is. And I my favorite thing at the track, when it comes to what I'm wearing, is seeing somebody with the same shirt, seeing other people that don't look like the rest of the 48 fans that I know, and I just mean like maybe they cut off the sleeves and maybe they're they have like no shirt on and it's tied around their waist, or so it's just. You never know what you're going to see at the track. You see a lot of interesting things, but it's always fun. People always say hi to their fellow fans, and I enjoy that too. We'll walk by and be like, "Hey, go 48! Hey, go Jimmy! Go JJ!" It's exciting to see that, and I have a humongous collection of T-shirts that I've just amassed in the last year since I moved to Michigan, and there's a ton back home in storage. So
absolutely. Well,
I don't know what I'm going to do with those now, but
well, you got to keep them because then they'll be vintage in a couple years. So you'll be all good.
But I always like those vintage T-shirts. That's a good idea. Yeah.
So let's kind of talk about Jimmy's his last few years here. So obviously his last win coming back, Dover 2017, and you look at 2017, 3 wins, 4 top 5s, 11 top 10s. You look at 2016, his last championship, 5 wins, 11 top 5s, 16 top 10s. You look at Jimmie Johnson's stat line from 14 to 17, it was very consistent. 3 to 5 wins, 11 to 15 top 5s, and 16 to 20 some top 10s. And then you look at his last 3 years, 18, 19, 20. No wins, 2 to 5 top 5s, and 10 to 11 top 10s. Like, everything basically got cut in half for the most part. I'm baffled by that, to be honest with you, because, and I said this year when talking about Kyle Busch, like just waiting for him to go off because I thought it was an inevitability. Kyle Busch didn't forget how to drive this year. He didn't.
Right.
He knows how to drive. Jimmie Johnson didn't forget how to drive over these last 3 years. I think. Chevy HMS falling behind a little bit between Joe Gibbs and Stuart Haas is definitely a viable factor. So what is it for you that you think really kind of just fell off these last 3 years for Jimmie?
Well, like you said, the Chevy being a bit behind, and then just changing crew chiefs. It takes a while to get back to, I think, that camaraderie, that connection that you make with your crew chief. And it was time for them to break up. It really was. I was shocked, but I'm always shocked because I'm very naive and I don't want to believe that sort of thing happened.
Sure.
But it did. And plus with Chevy being behind, I wonder if it just broke Jimmie, and he just never got it back after Chevy started coming back. We started seeing the other Chevys doing a little better. But I just wonder if it just kind of broke him, and that's why he wanted to semi-retire. I don't know. But it's been hard to watch as a fan. It's been hard to watch with other 48 fans because we all are just like, oh, this is just so painful to watch. He's just, 25th. What is happening?
Right.
Thank God his last race there in Phoenix. God, what did he get? A 4th? Or he got a 5th.
5th.
And it's one of his best finishes of the year. That was exciting to watch that.
Yes. Well, and that's
always exciting.
I feel bad that was that shouldn't have been the highlight. Like I literally wanted nothing more than Jimmy Johnson to go out at the track he dominated most at Martinsville and let play spoiler, shake up the playoffs even more, and go win Martinsville, take home another grandfather clock, get it, man, that would have been the bee's knees, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Right, that would have just been so cool if Jimmy could have had something for Martinsville.
Just gone out there and been like, yeah, this old guy's still got it. Don't worry about it. I still got it. And
in dominating fashion too, left the field. That would have been awesome.
That would have been so incredible. I've got goosebumps just thinking about it. That would be so great.
But hey, you know what? And I also wondered too, all right, been there, done that kind of thing. 7 championships, up there in the all times win list. I don't want to say he maybe got bored, and I'm not trying to speak for or anything by that means, but obviously accomplished everything you could accomplish in the sport. Family, we all know he loves to run, he likes to bike, he's got obligate, all this kind of stuff. Maybe he just needs that new challenge, and who knows, maybe he comes out, kicks some ass in Indy, and finds a new, rejuvenates himself, and that'd be great. And who knows, maybe after doing that, maybe he comes back and goes on a tear in NASCAR 3-4 years from now and gets that retirement send off that he really deserves.
Well, he could pull a Mark Martin. I could see that. I could see him pulling a Mark Martin. We didn't even believe Mark Martin the last time that he retired.
Hey, I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for him to strap back in.
I know. He's still working out, and he's got to still be driving something. So.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. That man is a racer inside and out, and I would love if Jimmy did that.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to hold out a lot of hope because he really does seem like he's into trying some new things. That's exciting. I'm not, a big fan of these open wheel cars, but maybe I could be. I mean, I've seen some of the races. They're not noisy, and you don't smell anything like you do.
Well, that is the thing, the amount of crossover and the good that could do for the sport in terms of fans going to Indy and coming to NASCAR, that opens the door, and that's nothing but good for the sport, which is awesome. I do want to ask you this. So, who's your new driver? Can you recreate that same passion and energy for a new driver? Where are you at with that? Because I'm looking at that down the road in a couple years. So I need to know where you're at with that.
Well, you need to start watching now. Okay, because that's what I started doing in 2014.
Yep.
I kind of felt like things were, getting there. Now I know that's 6 years ago. Okay. But what happened that year was that Kyle Larson had been driving for a couple of years already, but he had an amazing start to the season. He had an amazing season that year. And I said, we went to Martinsville that spring, and I got interviewed by somebody in the the boardwalk area, and I know that's what I call it, where all the haulers are with all the merchandise. And I got interviewed with a microphone. Well, okay, you got all your Jimmy Johnson stuff. What if Jimmy Johnson doesn't win today? Who are you rooting for? And I said, Kyle Larson. And the guy stepped back and he kind of looked at me. And now Kyle didn't win that day, but he won a lot that year, and he is really an exciting driver. I think he's going to be great at Hendrick. I'm so excited about this. And but then, things kind of fell apart earlier this year for Kyle. And I started watching Alex Bowman as well, kind of just last year, because I got to meet him on the red carpet last year. And he was the nicest kid. And I say kid because he's about my kid's age. So, and he, I couldn't get my phone to take the picture. I was kind of nervous, and I couldn't get it. I couldn't press the button right. And he just kept standing there and smiling and saying, "Oh, don't worry about it. You're fine. Go ahead and take the picture." He was just the nicest guy, and super, super tall. He's very tall. Yes. He's 6'2" or something. So I was kind of watching him and kind of had him in the back of my mind. And he had some nice races this year, too. I think I'm just going to go all in on Hendrick and just be like, okay, well, Alex is going to the 48 anyhow. I've got so much 48 garbage in my in my stable right now.
Yes.
It's all Ally now, so a lot of it carries over.
That's awesome. I love that. All right. We'll wrap with this. Anything fun planned in the off season? I know we're in Michigan, so that's going to be limited over the next couple of weeks. But anything that you're hoping to be able to do during the off season before things pick back up?
No. So, I mean, I would love to say something simple like I'd love to go see a movie in a movie theater. We can't do that. I'm going to join a gym. Well, no, I don't trust everybody else there at the gyms that are still open. So I really haven't made any plans. I would love to even know what's happening Thanksgiving, and I don't even know that yet. So,
I hear you.
Whether I'm going back to Ohio, staying here, I don't care. I just want some turkey and some stuffing and cranberry sauce, and I'll be fine. Just
Absolutely.
let me sit over here in the corner.
I picked up 2 turkeys. They're in the freezer. They're ready to go on the smoker.
Awesome.
So yes, I am ready.
So I know I can always drive across the state and get some turkey.
Hey, listen, it's always door is always open. Gina, I thoroughly enjoyed this. Everybody, go follow Gina at Gina Loves JJ48. Thank you so much for calling into the show. Thanks for the support and helping draw attention to the show. I really appreciate that. Stay safe, stay healthy, happy holidays, and go blue.
Oh, you got to get that in there. Well, Brandon, this was a lot of fun. I enjoyed this, and I always enjoy your show. It's always just so much energy. You just always bring that energy, and like as if we just saw the race just now and it just ended. And I love that about your show, and that's why I put it out there as much as I can. And I'm a happy listener. Let's just put it that way.
I appreciate that more than you will ever know. Thank you so much. Keep in touch, and we'll talk to you very, very soon.
Will do, and go Bucks.
Yeah. Oh, how awesome was Gina, Lap Traffic Nation? Always great to get a couple first-timers on the show. Gina, that was awesome. Enjoyed talking to you. And hopefully get to see you at MIS next year. That's for sure. All right. Well, I never know how long things are going to go. Well, I say that kind of having an idea. And I was supposed to have 6 callers. However, that got knocked down to 5. And thank goodness, because up next, it's Mr. Andrew Cancian. It's the voice of the Wave Around Hotline. Couldn't do it without him. And I'm sure that this is going to maybe go a tad long. So, yeah, apologize. But, hey, it's different. You're getting some listeners' takes and all that, kind of like a call-in sports radio show or something like that. I hope you guys are enjoying this. I love doing these. It's so much fun. This definitely is not the last one. I can promise you that before we pick things back up. So, without further ado, let's wrap this thing up with the voice of the Wave Around Hotline. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, it is time to wrap up this first listener call-in show of the offseason. You know who we're going to wrap this up with. He has aliases such as the 20%, the voice of the Wave Around Hotline, and most recently, championship winner Cant. Welcome back to the Lap Traffic Podcast, the voice of the Wave Around Hotline. It's Andrew Cancian. Sir, what's up, brother?
What's up, man? And as usual, I don't know if I can live up to that introduction.
Listen, I try to bring it. I try to put everybody up there and make them feel special. And you definitely deserve to be made to feel special. Oh, man. All right. Well, before we get into NASCAR stuff, is there anything we need to talk about? Football, baseball? Where do we need to begin?
Dude, I don't even know. Like, I'm sitting here hoping that my Yankees don't do anything stupid and re-sign the guys we have to re-sign, and then go make a trade for somebody since our core is getting older and reaching free agency. So I'm like, hey, why don't they go out and trade for Francisco Lindor, who's one of the best shortstops in baseball? But I don't run the team, so nobody listens to me.
Right. Well, if only, right?
Yeah, and then your Tigers just hired a cheater to be their manager, so I lost a little bit of respect for that.
Listen, I wasn't going to bring it up. I was going to see if you did. I mean, it must be a thing. The Tigers, the Lions, Pistons, Red Wings, they all play within a walking distance, half mile of each other. Like, no one just wants to get their shit together. So I've just accepted that as an inevitability. And Michigan doesn't want, Harbaugh has to be on his way out the door. And I hate to say that because I really wanted Jim Harbaugh to work. And it bugs me that it's just obviously not going to be the case. There is not many times in Michigan football history that a Michigan football team loses 3 in a row, let alone in the embarrassing fashion that we've lost to Michigan State, Indiana, and now to Wisconsin. Something ain't working, and you know what? It's time to hit the reset button and start over.
Yeah, I can get that. I mean, as a Texas Longhorn fan in college football, you and I are kind of similar there. It's historically powerhouse organizations, and Texas hasn't been good since Marcel Darius blew out Colt McCoy's shoulder in the championship game about 10 years ago now. So I could can't think of a word, but I am with you on that in the college football. I thought Tom Herman was really going to work out well for Texas, and we get a big bowl win every year. It's like, oh, we beat, Georgia a couple years ago. We're back. And then we suck the next year. It's like, oh, we beat number 6 Utah. We're back. And then we come back this year and, we lose to Oklahoma and, other teams we shouldn't be losing to. And, we need another coach. And that's why my interest is waning in college football.
Well,
it's hard to focus when your team sucks that badly.
Well, hey, man, I remember a Texas Longhorn quarterback in Vince Young throwing up some numbers on a Michigan football team in a bowl game back, 2003, 2004, somewhere around there?
That sounds about right. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yes, sir. Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I know Texas pretty well. Yes, sir. All right, man. Let's talk a little NASCAR. Let's start off with this. We'll wrap it we'll start it just like I have with everyone else tonight. What did you think the headline of 2020 was going to be going into Daytona this year, and how did that change for you?
Man, you could take this so many ways, and it's funny you mentioned that because I don't know if you're familiar, or I'm sure some of the listeners are. Motor Trend is a little racing streaming outlet, and I kind of subscribe to it. And they got a review of the 2020 season up, and they've got 3, about 30, 35-minute episodes, and I've got all 3 in so far. And I'm waiting for the last one to come out that describes the playoffs in 2020. And going into Daytona, we kind of just assumed it'd be like, it's just kind of going to be whatever for NASCAR this year, a ho-hum year. Lame duck. We got the new car coming in 2021. And right out of the gate, we have an absolutely horrifying accident to end the Daytona 500.
Yes.
We thought we lost a veteran who's been in the sport since I've been a fan, and I can remember. And we made out okay with that. Ryan was out. That picture that they constantly show on that, that little docuseries of him walking out with his little girls, it's a powerful image, and I joke around all the time on the voicemails. I'm not a Ryan Newman fan, but I'm not a Ryan Newman fan from the race car driver. Ryan's a fantastic human being who does a lot, with his farm and whatnot. So to see that picture of him with his little girls walking out of the hospital was breathtaking.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then we get our 3 races in, all right, West Coast swing. All right, well, let's come back out east and let's run Atlanta, and the rug is just swept from under us.
Absolutely. And I want to go back to something you said there about, Ryan Newman and fan not, and all that. And, Ryan Newman takes heat on social media. Some of it maybe deservingly so. You can be critical of the sport, of the driver on the track. All of us rallied around Ryan Newman. I'll never forget coming, that was, delayed Daytona race, right? We didn't finish that when we thought we were going to finish it. And I'll never forget walking upstairs and Lindsay literally goes, "What's wrong?" And I said, I don't know Ryan Newman's going to make it out away from this accident. And nobody wanted to see that. And I just think people sometimes forget, you can not be a fan of a driver, but still be a fan of the driver. And I think that's kind of what you just said there. And I think sometimes people forget about that from a fan perspective, and that it's okay to be that way and have, not passionately like a driver because of how they are on the track, but still like that person for who they are off the track.
Yeah, exactly. And, that'll kind of lead me into the next big storyline of 2020 that I was going to talk about is the whole everything, that happened, socially in the United States. And, with the Bubba Wallace incident at Talladega, everybody rallied around Bubba Wallace. Again, I'm not a Bubba Wallace fan, the race car driver. I never have been. But watching that moment at Talladega and still rewatching that moment, we're now in the middle of November coming up on Thanksgiving. But that was a beautiful moment that we witnessed at Talladega. And it was more of a unifying of the NASCAR community, which was beautiful to see.
Absolutely. There were onions cut across the crowd household. Oh, yeah. That's for sure. Yes, yeah, absolutely.
And then, we get into the summer and we start getting into a groove, and it's like, all right, it's the Dennis and Kevin show every single week. One wins one race at Pocono and the one wins the one the next day. And, Harvick sweeps at Michigan, and, Hamlin wins the next week. And kind of got into that kind of ho-hum part of the season, dog days of the summer, and we get to the playoffs and everything got shaken up from there. So we have no new car. The next era of NASCAR is like next era 0.5 kind of, because we got a whole new schedule next year, and then with the new car. So it's a transition year for NASCAR. And when you see the biggest name in the sport, the most popular driver, go out and win a championship, that's going to move the needle forward. And I remember, Kevin Harvick took a lot of heat for what he said about Dale Jr., saying it was Jr.'s fault that he was not as successful and it hurt the sport. I don't think Kevin was completely correct when he made that statement, but this is going to be controversial, but there might have been some legs to that, because when the most popular driver isn't winning races and, had one year where he finished in the 20s in points, that's going to hurt your fan base right there. So to see the most popular driver now that Dale Jr.'s retired go out and win a championship at 24 years old, that matters. That's going to, really push NASCAR forward. And I think the sport has a lot of momentum going into next year. And I'm excited for that.
I am so with you 100%. And I'll add to that with this is not only did the most popular driver win, I'm not going to say it was out of nowhere, but when you have that Hail Mary win at Martinsville, the last race of the round to get to that race at Phoenix, that just adds to the momentum. It adds to the excitement. It adds to the Cinderella story. It adds to the narrative. It adds to t-shirt sales. Like, it just adds to so many positives the way it played out. We weren't talking about Chase Elliott, like you said. We weren't talking about Chase Elliott at Michigan. We weren't talking about Chase Elliott at Pocono. We talked about him at the road courses, obviously, which is awesome. And then he stepped up his game. And I absolutely love that he did that. I think it's great for the sport. Like you said, it's going to carry the guard. I talked about it a little while ago with a couple of the callers earlier tonight in terms of we've got schedule changes. We've got a new car coming out. We've got young drivers. And I'm going to reiterate the point because I think it needs to be said, in that if you were a fan of Jeff Gordon, there is a Jeff Gordon personality out there coming up through the ranks. If you are a fan of Jimmy Johnson, if you are a fan of Kevin Harvick, like, you can go find your next driver. The level of competition is amazing. We saw that in the round of 8. I'm a broken record here because I said it 10, 15, 20 minutes ago, but you can go find that next driver and you can enjoy the sport, because I think we're in good hands. Not to pun off Allstate there, but I think we're in good hands.
I think we are too. I think the star power that is Chase Elliott, and don't forget, Joey Logano's 30 years old. He still has another 10 years in his prime. Kyle Busch is 34, 35. He still has another 5, 6, 7 years left. Those guys aren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say something here too, and this is what I was going to, I wanted to bring up to you, that there are a couple drivers that I need to see more out of. I need to see more out of Ryan Blaney.
Yeah.
I was not impressed with him this year. you can't go out and win 2 races at Talladega, and that's half your career win total. Restrictor plate wins mean absolutely nothing to me.
Right.
Okay, Trevor Bayne won a Daytona 500, and he's out of the goddamn sport. So you can't just go out and win restrictor plate races. Go out and win on, your mile and a halves, which is a bulk of the schedule. Go out and, win on some of these more variety of tracks. That's what makes Kevin Harvick and Joey Logano and Kyle Busch and now Chase Elliott so good. They've won on every single type of racetrack that we've gone to. So I'm not saying Ryan Blaney's a bust. Far from it. But I want to see more out of someone like him, because that's another personality that I can see really reaching that, casual fan or that new fan, and I think Chase is going to do that. I think, Bubba Wallace is going to do that, but Bubba Wallace needs to win on the track. And I think he's going to have a good chance here with this new team coming up. Not next year, because you can't expect a brand new team to win in NASCAR. It just doesn't work out that way, no matter how much money's poured behind it. Give that team, a year or two, that's a team that I expect to see winning and expanding. And that's another driver that I think can, reach that fan, and has already reached that fan with his off the track stuff. Now it's time for him to put together the on the track stuff.
I'm with you there. And so the 2 things I want to add to what you just said is number one, I think PETM brought that up on their show Tuesday in terms of, Chase Elliott, he's winning at the most difficult tracks. He may not have all the wins at the mile and a halves and the 2 miles, but he's got a championship win at Phoenix. He's got a win at Martinsville, and he can win at the road courses. And we got 6 of them bad boys coming up next year. Not to say I think he's going to come out and now win 10 in a row, but it's playing in his favor that he can go out there and win at the most difficult tracks. It's going to come into play that he's going to pick up some mile and a half wins on a little bit more consistent basis, without a doubt. To say, to Bubba Wallace, you are, I'm with you 100% in terms of, the odds of him coming out next year and winning first year, new team, slim to none. And then you got to even look to the following year, 2022. Well, that's a brand new car. So even that's going to be a challenge. So it's a matter from a fan base perspective in terms of what are realistic expectations for this 23 team over the next couple years. And next year, your expectations really need to be in check with it being a new team. And then in 2022, your expectations need to be in check because it's going to be a brand new car. So we're really looking at 2023, no pun intended there, in terms of where we could really see, a breakout year perhaps for that organization.
Absolutely. And as much as I like to joke about my dislike for Denny Hamlin, that is a very motivated individual right there, and a very ambitious individual. And that team I fully expect to be a powerhouse in the years to come. And that will be that's going to be another big Toyota team. And Toyota needs that, being that Furniture Row is shut down. Michael Waltrip Racing has shut down. Levine Family Racing has shut down. So you have these young guys like Eric Jones who's getting shipped out to Richard Petty Motorsports. Eric Jones is an all-world talent in this sport, and he's going to run for a team that 20th is a good day for. So that's a competitive pipeline right there with Toyota, and Harrison Burton's a prospect, and that young man is going to win in this sport one day, probably at the highest level. So they're going to need to find some more room at the end over at Toyota.
That's I think maybe putting it mildly a little bit for sure. All right, so I want to go because I know you mentioned you need to see more out of Ryan Blaney. So when you had said one of your topics was a driver you need to see more out of, I put down who I need to see more out of. Before I tell you who I want to see, can you guess who is the driver that I need to see more out of?
I'm going to have to, let me think about this one. I mean, honestly, no, you won Stump the Dummy on this one.
I need to see more out of Eric Almirola.
Okay.
3 years at SHR, 108 races, 1 win. 47 top 10s, which, that's roughly 45% in the top 10. That's good. But kind of like, and it kind of ties in with you and Ryan Blaney, like, you got to take that next step. Like, you're in good equipment. You're at SHR. You've got great coaches between your crew chiefs, your organization, your fellow teammates in Kevin Harvick and Clint Boyer and Kurt Busch, for a while there. Like, I think Eric Almirola should be a little further along over these last 3 years than what he is. Now, to that I will say, 45% in the top 10 since he's been with the organization. That's strong. And then I look at the level of competition in terms of where our final 8 was that had Martin Truex Jr., had Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski. The top 8 was the most stacked top 8 we've ever had under this new playoff format.
Absolutely.
So then I look, all right, well, am I being unrealistic in terms of saying, well, maybe Eric Almirola should have more wins? But I don't know. I just think JGR can put multiple drivers a year in victory lane. HMS can do it. And over the years, it just feels like it's the Kevin Harvick show at SHR, and everyone else is kind of a lag behind. And, I know, they moved Almirola in to fill that gap, to go out and get wins. And over the last 3 years, I just feel like that team's come up a little bit short.
I could agree with that. And, I think with where Almirola is in his career, I think what you see is what you get.
Yep.
He's going to get you some top 10s. He's probably not going to tear the car up. We'll bring it home in one piece, but that might be his peak right there. And, he's been kind of an average performer in that regard, based on his equipment as well. I know if you look at David Smith's Motorsports Analytics stats, he's just an average driver in good equipment, and that's the output that you get from him. Now, it'll be interesting to see what Chase Briscoe does in the next couple of years, because I think that is another driver who I'm personally very high on. I've been watching him since he was in ARCA, coming up in the Cunningham cars. So I think he's going to be a good driver. Now, do I think he's going to make the playoffs this year? No, I don't think he will, but I didn't think Cole Custer was going to win a race this year either. So, Almirola is the number 2 driver at SHR right now, and I would like to see more out of him. But I don't know if we're going to get to see more out of it.
Sure. No, I'm with you. Well, and I'm glad you brought up a couple of the rookies there, because that kind of sparked where I ended up going with your show sheet page of the night here, because I started mapping out drivers we need to see more out of. I'm like, well, I wanted to look at the rookie stat line of the big 3 from last year in the Xfinity Series. So we got Christopher Bell, 0 wins, 2 top 5, 7 top 10s. Cole Custer, 1 win, 2 top 5, 7 top 10s. And Riddick, 0 wins, 3 top 5s, 9 top 10s. I mean, outside of Cole Custer's win, these 3 guys had very, very similar years in terms of top 5s, top 10s. Do you see something more coming from one of these guys? Does one of these guys create a 2021 headline next year, I guess is what I'm looking at.
I don't expect any of them to make a jump that big in year 2. But it would not surprise me to see at least 1 win out of the 3 of those, even in year 2. I mean, it took Chase Elliott 99 races to get his first win. It took Kyle Larson 99 races to get his first win. It took William Byron, I don't know the exact number, but in the 90 to 100 range to get his first win. So, Cole Custer kind of lucked into one. He earned a complete snooze fest, which we typically get at Kentucky, and took advantage on a late restart and just fucking drove around everybody.
Yep.
So that's kind of I don't want to say it's a fluky win, but he didn't go out and lead laps and say, oh, wow, Cole Custer's really got a strong car today.
Right.
None of them did that, this year. I don't think it's fair to have any of them do that. If you go back and you look at all the rookies that we've had in the Cup Series, William Byron didn't set the world on fire in good equipment. Eric Jones had one of the better rookie seasons, to be honest with you. Chase Elliott probably had the best rookie season in the past 5 years. He didn't even win a race. So it's not even common to see guys in, year 1 and year 2 win races. And it's not helping their development. I don't think that they're not racing against Jeff Burton and Mark Martin and Kyle Busch and Logano and Keselowski in the Xfinity Series anymore.
Sure.
I think you're starting to see that trickle up effect in a way. I don't think it was great for the series to have those Cup guys going out and leading 150 of 200 laps every Saturday. And yeah, it kind of did stink up the show. But I think from a driver quality standpoint, it is hurting those drivers not to race against Cup veterans and future Cup Hall of Famers on Saturday and on Friday night in the Truck Series. And I think you're starting to see that a little bit, these longer term effects here now that we're in, year 3 or 4 of Cup guys getting, restricted and then lower series.
I'm with you there. And on the same time, you can also say too, everyone wants to cash in on that meal ticket. And, could all 3 of these guys maybe had benefited from one more year in the Xfinity Series, racing against each other, getting more seat time in the Xfinity car and in that series before moving up? Not to say that another year in Xfinity and, let's say all of them are going to move up next year, could we maybe see the same stat line? I think it's very possible. But, like I said, everyone wants to cash in on that ticket. You don't want to say, no, I want to stay down here for another year when the payday's on Sunday, not on Saturday. And I totally get that. But I think that too hurts a little bit. I think that's hurt with, Natalie Decker probably could have benefited from a little bit more time in ARCA. The verdict's out still on Haley Deegan, everybody wants to capitalize off of whatever niche that particular driver has, whether male, female, personality, charisma, whatever it is, and I get that, right? It's a capitalism sport, right? You gotta roll with what you got, win, and you don't want to turn anything down. So I totally get that. But from a performance and when it comes to, look what could have happened versus what maybe did happen, that may be where we're at down the road with some of these drivers and stuff like that. You mentioned Eric Jones. I love Eric, been a big supporter of the show and all that kind of stuff. He's one of those guys you could maybe look at and say, man, kind of thought more would have happened from him as a driver being at Joe Gibbs Racing. We'll see what happens going to RPM, where all the resources are going to go to him. But will not having teammates play a role? What will happen there? And when we look at the rookies, I personally think Tyler Reddick had the best on-track, consistent performance of the rookies, and that's coming out of RCR, a Chevy organization that struggled with Chevy as an organization and struggled behind HMS. And I look at that as a positive. If we're saying a Chevy had the strongest rookie at an organization that's been struggling, that's something that I view as a positive and hope to see that's something that can elevate that organization. Tyler, and that team, I'm excited to see what comes from Tyler Reddick at RCR.
Oh, for sure, and I'll be curious to see how RCR, how they kind of operate moving forward now that Chevy has the combined engine program now with RCR and HMS. That's going to help Chevy quite a bit.
Absolutely.
I'm
with you.
Toyota's got one engine supplier now. Ford's got one engine. It's not like, back in the early 2000s when you had a Roush motor, a Yates motor, a Hendrick motor, a DEI motor, and every organization was building their own motors. It's not manufacturer specific now.
Right.
And who's to say in the next 10 years we're not running some sort of electrification motor, with some hybrid features to it that comes from a single supplier. We don't know what the next 10 years of just technology is going to be.
Yep.
So you're seeing a lot of streamlining that was already happening in the sport. And I think the economic downturn caused by the pandemic is only accelerating that, from driver salaries to, the next gen car. We were already moving in this direction of not downsizing, but right sizing and streamlining processes here. And I think, that pandemic, the pandemic was just that needle that let all the air out of the balloon and said, nope, we have to do this now or we're not going to survive.
Yep. No, and you know what? Props to NASCAR, the teams, the unfortunately, jobs were lost because of that. And that's never a fun thing. That's never something to that you want to look at as a positive. But if you're going to look at a positive or try to find a positive in that situation, the industry as a whole, might be able to sustain, and hopefully maybe down the road there might be more opportunities from a general supplier perspective or a team perspective that might be able to come back. And that's we can what if all that stuff to death, and that's what it would be. But I think things were recognized at the right time to save things, and we'll have to go from there.
Yeah, I think you took where I was going to go with that. Hopefully these employees, these men and women that are unfortunately going to get laid off by team organizations, are going to get picked up by these suppliers. And I do think we caught it at the right time. We got to this point before it was too late.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. All right, man, take out the crystal ball. What is the 2021 headline?
Oof. I think it's going to be pretty similar to 2020.
Brandon Crowd makes the Lap Traffic Fantasy Final Four.
Where the hell did you hear that from?
Oh, that's not the headline?
No, not even close. I mean, I can get my crystal ball out now. I mean, I can't tell you the winning lottery numbers, but I can tell you that won't happen.
Oh, that's awesome. What is the headline?
Hate to burst your bubble there, but
I know. No, I sometimes you just accept reality. All right, what is the headline?
Oh, the headline. I think the young drivers, the younger guys, are going to take a big step forward, and I think you're going to see a monstrous year out of Kyle Larson.
I was just going to. Does Kyle Larson win a race next year?
Kyle Larson wins at least 2 races next year.
Ooh, 2 races, not just 1, but 2. You heard it first there from the voice of the Wave Round Hotline. All right, Lap Traffic Nation. Huge thanks to Andrew Cansian for calling in. Thanks for the support, brother, over the years. Thanks for the friendship. Enjoy the holiday season. Stay safe, stay healthy, and of course, thank you for your service, man.
Thank you, sir. All those things back to you and your family, and hopefully we'll run into you at the track, hopefully some point in 2021.
That needs to happen sooner rather than later. All right, man. We'll catch you later.
Take care, man.
See ya. All right, Lap Traffic Nation. Well, there's 2 hours. All right, that is going to do it for episode 210 of the Lap Traffic Podcast. Make sure you check out the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com. Like on Facebook, The Lap Traffic Podcast. Follow on Twitter and Instagram at Lap Traffic PC. Subscribe, download, all that good stuff. Big congrats to our contest winner at NASCAR Rocks MP. Big thanks to Matt Camper, Joe Houston, Gina, Mick Rose, and Andrew Cansian for calling in. Don't forget to start sending in your season-long Lucky Dog and Lap Down picks for the Lucky Dog recap show next week. Don't get caught chasing the Lucky Dog. Make sure you tune in each and every week to the Lap Traffic Podcast. See ya!